Do we inherit our passions from our parents? If so, I got love of books from my mother. She consumed as many as 5 in any given week. There was nothing she hadn't read. The obscure, the challenging. She got her reading list from the New Yorker, to which she subscribed every week of her life. When we lived in Africa, we got the tissue paper version, paper that was so light you could see right through it. I mapped my growing up to New Yorker covers. To say she was voracious was unfair. She read with a casualness that belied her passion, often sitting for an entire afternoon shrouded in a mystery I never mastered. Her feet up on the coffee table or folded under her as she smoked in a continual round of lighting, dragging, tapping, stubbing out. Circles of smoke curled up around her, a veil impenetrable. Her cloisonne ashtray and coffee cup constant companions. We tiptoed through the room. She was not to be disturbed while she was reading. I would watch from the doorway, listening for her to give any signal of permission to enter her space, where I was sure love was waiting. I monitored the ash at the end of her cigarette, how long she could hold it still without having it break and fall. She left pads of ash in piles around the ashtray, and there was that crackle of the library issue protective jacket over every book. It was the only sound that issued from her reading corner, other than her signature cough, that loose gravel that threatened to engulf her. I looked for clues to her in her story about her return to Vienna after finishing boarding school in Bavaria. Her parents had hidden her there, a little Jewish girl among the peerage of the Austro-Hungarian aristocracy. Her parents had traded on their crest to save her. Bestowed to her grandfather, physician to the Emperor Franz Joseph I, it kept their secret. But it was blood lineage that brought the family to its knees before the Nazis. All of them sent to work camps but my mother. Their name was Kahane, of the Kohanim, rabbinical tribe of the Levi. My grandfather, Joseph Kahane, and his daughter, Gertrude Irina Gisela Kahane, and me. I took your name, Mama, after you were gone because you wouldn't permit that kind of intimacy while you were alive, and the heartbreak that love sometimes is. At 19, during the occupation, she wore a red coat. She and her girlfriend, Hazi, marched across the Heldenplatz, past the Nazi guards and down into the subway, and there, on pallets, stretching the length of the tunnel, books. Hundreds and hundreds of books, removed from the library, converted to offices for the Third Reich. And she, and Hazi, had pulled treasure upon treasure from those pallets, hidden them under their coats, and marched back across the square. She went brazenly back, time and again, under their noses, until the entrance was sandbagged. You weren't much of a talker, Mama. So listening for any sound became an act of yearning. I listened for the signs that would put me in the circle of your light. I think I got there at the very end when we chose the navy and white polka dot dress you wanted to be buried in. The cancer made you finally gentle. And then I went back to Africa. So many years after you had raised us in that house in Nairobi, the one with the magic garden, sitting with my 57 boxes of books I had shipped with me, old friends. They were my love letter to you, Mama, who had refused to be loved, who was so afraid of love, you made your life a case against it. Among them all, one book catches my eye. I know it by its cover, by its shape, almost 2 foot square, but not quite. 100 flowers slides into my open hands. It is Georgia O'Keeffe. the first book I ever worked on at Callaway Editions 25 years before. I take the pages between thumb and forefinger lightly and read the dedication. Mama, I hope these pages bring you to yourself as much as making them brought me to myself. Love, Christine. I turn page after page, hardly noticing the voluptuous petals. I touch the pages you touched a generation ago. I feel for you. I cannot reach you still. Mama, the day I told Nicholas you were dying and I had to go home, he scooped me up and he held me so tight I couldn't breathe. Is that what love feels like? You never hugged me that tight. I don't have your imprint in me. I carried Nicholas's gift back to you in my arms. I watched you devour every single page. You were just out of reach, as always. So I didn't notice as I talked myself out of sliding over to sit pressed beside you, pouring love over that book. You looked up at me. I had never seen you cry before, tears that followed each other in a rush to land. And I hadn't known it until that moment. Being your daughter scared me so much. I knew I would be crap at kids, so I never had them. And now I wish I had a do-over. I think I could hug someone so tight they would always be safe. I think I could do that. In the weeks before she died, she had me steal out to the fence where the neighbor's lilac hung in these great big swaths. Bring as much as you can. I want to smell them all night. I cut them down like hanks of hair. I drug them inside, put them in pitchers around her sick room. Christele, she called to me. I can see hamburgers floating by. They have wings. It was the morphine talking, Mama. She died a week later. You never cried again after O'Keeffe's flowers. I saw it in your eyes. You weren't afraid anymore of leaving, Mama. Maybe that's how you loved me the best. You showed me what being alive in a moment is. When the pain was so bad, you called out to me to hold you tight, to make the hurt go away, and not all the books in the world can bring you back so that we can drench ourselves in lilac and reminisce about how serious we were about books. I left them all in Africa, Mama. You're not in them. You are in me.